Welcome in, ARK survivors. Today we're talking about speed. Wait, no, not that speed. Not just that thing you used to be able to change in ASE, but you can't change in ASA. No, today we're talking speed because it isn't just a stat, it's a lifeline. Whether you're escaping a sticky situation, racing to that red drop with the ring on it, or just flexing to the rest of the server, being fast matters. So today I'm ranking every airborne creature in the game, not just by how fast they feel, but how fast they actually go. I built a 100 foundation runway that happens to actually be 325 meters in a straight line, so that made the calculations really easy, but more on that later. And then I flew every single tame across it. No boosted movement speed, just wild tames with a hell of a lot of stam. Now, I timed all of their flat flights, and if they did have a swooping or dashing mode to make them go a little bit faster, I timed that out too. So some creatures will actually have 2 entries on this list. Now, just for a brief moment here, I want to get a little bit technical because not all the creatures on this list are true flyers.
What?
What I call a true flyer is a creature that 1 can fly straight up and down, 2 can stop mid-air and hover, and 3, obviously, its primary mode of traveling is done by flight. And some of the creatures on this list, well, they're not flyers, they're gliders. But since they still meet one of the criteria of mode of transportation is by flight through the air, I'm gonna give it to them because we kind of just call all of these flyers in general, although some of them are just gliders. That's nitpicking, let's get into it. So let's quickly talk about the science behind the calculations.
What do I find out?
Knowing the distance and the time it took to travel that distance will easily be able to figure out the speed thanks to this handy speed distance calculator. I then collected all the data and then was able to easily rank them slowest to fastest. Now you're wanting to stick around to the end of this list because the fastest creature on this list not only goes fast, it goes faster than the fastest thing on Earth. How fast is it? Which creature does it? Well, stick around to the end to find out. And you're gonna want to stick around to the end to catch all the hidden letters. Oh, what are they for? Well, more of that at the end of the video. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the slowest, the Quetzal. Yeah, we can all guess, not a big surprise here. The Quetzal taking 26 seconds to fly down the 325 meters. That puts it at just below 28 miles per hour or 45 kilometers per hour. I'm pretty sure there's cars out there that go faster than that and cruise ships, but this being a flying equivalent of a cruise ship, it's great for building your bases on, but terrible for outrunning anything in ARK. Next is going to be one of our first ties, and actually it's a 3-way tie. First, let's start with everyone's favorite, the Argentavis. Argentivus? RG. Now, this tame and the 2 it tied with came in at a respectable 22 seconds flight time, which is a 33 mile per hour or 53 kilometers per hour. The RG being less of a bird and more of a majestic cargo plane. Everyone's favorite go-to cargo, fighter, flyer. Everyone loves it. But it's also tied with the Pelagornis and, surprisingly, the Lymantria. The Pelagornis, of course, being the only flyer that can actually land on water and regain its stam. And then we have the Lymantria, which is basically ARK's version of a decorative kite that you can fly. And next we have the versatile dual-seating Tapejara, which came in at a fast 19 seconds down the runway or 38 miles per hour. Now, next in we have the first entry from the Griffin, which is just its basic flat flight, which was still fairly fast, getting down the course at just under 52 miles per hour. Not bad. Now, that being just the basic flat flight of the Griffin, not the swooping, actually matches the flat flight of the Renningunatha. Both of those coming in at just under 52 miles per hour or 84 kilometers per hour. Now, the Rhino itself is a little bit difficult to calculate on its other flight times because when it's carrying a live creature, it's different than when it's carrying an allied Volt. The speed times are way slower and you aren't going to be outpacing anything because it turns out that the Rhino is actually just a hair slower than the Quetzal when it's carrying. Do this with caution and take your time because you're definitely not going to get there quick. Coming in next is the Pteranodon, coming in a nice, comfortable 56 miles per hour. Not bad, still not breaking any speed limits though. And tied with the Pteranodon is the Snow Owl, coming in again at just under that 56 miles per hour, or 90 kilometers per hour. The Snow Owl does have a swooping feature, but it is a shorter swoop than the Griffin, so the speed gained from it is actually kind of lost from the height needed to travel up to then swoop down for the next swoop. So it's actually almost just as fast as flying a straight line with the snow owl, but you do you. You test it out, leave a comment down below what you think. Now, you may not have access to this next creature because it is technically a paid for creature, but the Dreadmare's flat flight is kind of impressive, getting down the runway in only 11 seconds. So that's 66 miles per hour. This thing screams heavy metal Pegasus energy. It will show up again later in the list, so let's just continue on to the next tie that we have on our list. Coming up, this was actually a big surprise to me. We have the Yeeling and the Wyvern coming in at basically the exact same flight speed. The Yeeling is a little bit difficult to calculate because it does want to glide and fall pretty steadily, but if you get used to the flying mechanics, you can get a pretty good speed. Wyverns have their base speed, also coming in at a lovely blistering 10 seconds at 72 miles per hour or 117 kilometers per hour. Now up next we have the first entry from the Rock Drake. It's just base gliding mode, which is actually a blistering 80 miles per hour. Technically it's a glider, but it glides like it means it. Alright, so real quick before we get into the last ones here, put your comment down below of which ones you're predicting is going to be the fastest one. There's only a couple left. Which one do you think is going to beat out and come out on top? Leave your comment down below in 3, 2, 1. Alright, back to the video. Now, next we're going actually back to the Dreadmare. It has a swooping ability, so if you're at an angle going down, it can continuously swoop, which is actually going 90 miles per hour. That's not just flying, that's flying with a vengeance. Where's Ghost Rider? Our next entry is literally... We're talking about the Phoenix. This thing technically does have a regular flying mode, but you're not going to be using that. No, you're going to be using the afterburners because that got down the 100 foundation runway in 6 seconds, 121 miles per hour. That's over 195 kilometers per hour, almost as fast as Japan's bullet train. Well, the Maywing, just gliding along, even at just its normal steady pace, is coming in at 6 seconds as well. Just as fast as the Phoenix Afterburner. Okay, I hear you typing already. Yes, I know there isn't a Maywing in the game just yet, because Gen 2 isn't here yet, but we do have the Mayguana. And now, before we get into the top 3, a few honorable mentions. Yes, ARK's derpy angry bird may help you gently fall to the ground, but that ain't flight. And then we have the gas bags, which doesn't really fly or glide. It really kind of does a fart jumping or a jumping fart. I don't know if we're jarting or frumping, but it definitely isn't flight. Coming in at number 3, next we're going back to the Rock Drake, but this time we're calculating how fast it is when it's gliding, and it's using the dash at the end of the glide. That dash has seemingly what I can find is about a 50 foundational range. It will activate, getting you up to speeds of 145 miles per hour. Let me just say that again. 145 miles per hour. 230 kilometers per hour. That isn't just dashing, that's damn near breaking the laws of physics. Coming in number 2 with that silver medal is the Griffin, showing up again with its second entry in its swooping mode. Obviously, we all know the swooping mode on the Griffin is fast. How fast? Well, it actually got down the runway in 4 seconds. That's 181 miles per hour, nearly 300 kilometers per hour. Not quite the fastest thing just yet. Alright, which one do you think it is? Drumroll, please. Yep, that's right. You guessed it. It's the Maywing going in its fast, swoop, dashing, blistering light speed ahead. It got down the runway, and I kid you not, 3 seconds. It was incredibly hard to get this time accurate because it was going so fast. 242 miles per hour. 390 kilometers per hour. That's faster than anything on Earth. The Peregrine Falcon IRL reaching a top speed of a recorded 242 miles per hour. And just like the pigeons in this Nat Geo clip, your foes in ARK will never see you coming. There you have it, a full list of every creature that swoops, dashes, flies, and glides through the air in ARK. And did you guess the fastest one?
Are you sure about that?
Okay, I hear you. But turns out that Tropio can't spawn on Ragnarok. flat speed, swoop speeds, gliders, dashers, and literal bird on fire, a literal firebird. We had the Quetzal cruise ship all the way up to the warp speed of the Maywing. Now if you're flying slower than 120 miles per hour in ARK, maybe it's time for an upgrade. Please like, comment down below, and tell me which one surprised you the most. And hey, now that you got the numbers, get out there and fly smarter and fly faster.